Hi everyone, it's Caro, the Scottman895. We're here to do a drive video today. We are heading north on M-24. We're continuing the M-24 series after, I think, a couple of years or so, maybe longer than that ago. I filmed the stretch going from where it begins at around I-75 in Auburn Hills, Michigan, go all the way up to I-69 here in Lapeer. So now we're going to continue further to the north here in Lapeer. So we're heading from I-69 here in the Lapeer area. We'll head all the way up to M-46 south of Caro. And although I won't be filming it today or anything, but at another point then I'll have to do like the last stretch going all the way up to M-25 up in Unionville. So we're starting off the video here in Lapeer, which is like the main city here in Lapeer County, Michigan. All kinds of different businesses to the south of downtown Lapeer. All kinds of fast food restaurants too. Taco Bell, Sonic. Got Checkers up ahead. Of course, a bunch of different banks, gas stations. Even a little market. Oh, there's Dairy Queen. That was to see a Marshall's, Pet Supplies Plus, Dunham Sports, Michael's, and Aldi Food Market. Like all kinds of different businesses in here. There's even a Culver's off to the left there too. In fact, to the left, that's Baldwin Road, which I remember filming a video on that earlier this year, where the video ended right at that intersection. So that's pretty cool. And you have more fast food restaurants, Arby's, Burger King, Tim Hortons. McDonald's, I see that up ahead. I even see a Wendy's. Way off to the just made this light. Way off to the left, there's even a Kroger, and even further west, I think there's even like a larger shopping area, or shopping area. I see a Home Depot. I think there's even like a Kohl's over there, a KFC, like Wendy's, Leo's Coney Island. It's like they got all the fast food places up along in here. Even some family restaurants too, like Brian's there. So not at this light here, but although we have to stop at this light first. So again, not at this traffic light, but this one here for Nepissing Street. If you make a right turn, that'll take you into downtown Lapeer. That's a nice little small downtown area. And there's a really good barbecue restaurant called Wood Chips Barbecue, which has amazing barbecue. It's one of my favorite barbecue places in all of Michigan. It's up there with Slow's Barbecue. And also there's a really good barbecue restaurant in Lapeer, not Lapeer, this is Lapeer, in Lansing. I remember going to. That's really good. And of course, Bad Brad's Barbecue at Metro Detroit's really good as well. All kinds of great barbecue throughout the state of Michigan. Wood Chips is definitely up there. But M-24 stays away from the main business district of downtown Lapeer. Instead, it's like you have all the fast food restaurants and all the department stores to the south, which we saw toward the beginning of this video. Got McLaren Hospital here to the left. So yeah, M-24 is one of the few highways which goes up into the thumb region of Michigan. You have this, M-15 to the west, and then you also have M-53 to the east, as well as M-19, and then M-25 goes along the edge of like Lake Huron and then the Saginaw Bay once you get up to Port Austin. So yeah, this is one of the different ways you can take to get up to, well, to go into the thumb region, even get up to the tip a little bit. M-53 is a more direct route, but this can work out well too. Because this ends up, if you go all the way to where it ends at M-25 in Unionville. For there, you can then continue north up to Sebuen and then go up to Caseville and then ends up over at Port Austin. Of course, that's where it meets up with M-53. And if you want, you can take M-25 back down along Lake Huron, going down to Lake Huron, or down to Port Huron. So yeah, right now we're in the northern end of Lapeer. And as we get out of Lapeer, we're only going to be going through one more like village or town in this video. This is going to be mostly rural. And yeah, we'll pretty much be no longer seeing traffic lights after a little bit. Unless they started to make some, or started to put some in, even in the more rural areas, even getting close to near the area where Columbiaville is, even though we don't technically go through it on M-24. But yeah, as you can tell, it's a gloomy day today. It's overcast and it's still a little moist, and there's even some low, maybe not low clouds, but a little bit of light mist. Although it's so light that I'm barely having to clean the windshield, although I could probably do that like so. But now you have to have it on for a period of time or anything. Yeah, the car thermometer is only reading 43 degrees Fahrenheit. Convert that to Celsius, it's around like 6 degrees. So it is a chilly day for April. But April is the month where we can see 80-degree weather and accumulating snow in the same week. Although in Michigan it hasn't gotten that warm just yet. Although a couple of days ago we're supposed to get some snow on Monday. Although it's gonna be warm and it's not really gonna stick. If it does, maybe just on the grass and then just melt like hours later. It's that time of the year that it's like, unless you get like a big snowstorm or something, it's like any snow that falls just either melts on contact or melts within hours. Because yeah, as you can tell, the grass is already starting to turn green, which is nice. It's starting to look a little nicer out. Plus, we've had a lot of rain in the past week and a half. Or technically, I think even on Wednesday, even up here, it snowed too, because it didn't really stick or anything, but it did snow for a period of time on Wednesday before it turned to rain. And heck, the same day, just on the other side of the border, going into Ohio and Indiana, there are tornadoes down there. So yeah, definitely something. So yeah, now as you can tell, yeah, we're pretty much in rural areas of Michigan's thumb region. The reason why it's called the thumb region is that if you look at the state of Michigan, especially the lower peninsula on a map, it looks like a giant mitten. Where it's like if you look like where Traverse City is, like where Sleeping Bear Dunes is, that's the pinky. The three main fingers, like the index, the middle, and the ring finger, go up to where, like the tip is basically where Mackinac City is. As you go up to the Mackinac Bridge, go across that, go over to the Upper Peninsula. And then where the thumb is basically where we are. The area that's in between Lake Huron and I-75 as it goes through Flint, Saginaw, and Bay City. And the thumb region generally is north of Interstate 69. So Michigan's thumb region is very rural. You got different towns scattered throughout the area. Of course, you got Lapeer down here. Also, of course, Port Huron over near the border with Canada. And of course, you got smaller towns too, like Bad Axe. There's Caseville, Seaboyne. There's Caro, Cass City, Harbor Beach, Lexington, Port Sanilac, many others. Than that, you have a lot of farmland. So yeah, you definitely see a lot of farms. You got small rolling hills like this. They don't really have much in the way of like big hills or anything. So it's rather perfect for farmland. Every once in a while too, you'll have some wooded areas too, like this. Although in areas right along either the Saginaw Bay or Lake Huron, it can get heavily wooded. It almost makes you feel like you're up in the North Woods a little bit. But not bad, yeah. Overall, it's not as scenic as northern Lower Michigan, but still is pretty nice. So if you make a left turn here, this is Columbiaville Road. That'll take you to a small village called Columbiaville. I remember going there like I think over a decade ago. It's a nice little small town. Not really a whole lot to it. I think there's like a restaurant there. There's also a really nice bed and breakfast. So it's a nice little, you can say, we'll say like a overnight or a weekend getaway. Need some water. I forgot what I was talking about before I talked about Columbiaville, but oh, that's right, yeah. So it got some nice driving, especially like right in here, but not as scenic as northern Lower Michigan, where you got like bigger hills up there, more forested areas. Looks like, yeah, it's the first Saturday of the month, so they're testing the tornado sirens. So generally every first Saturday of a month in Michigan, except during like the winter, obviously, they test the tornado sirens. Because Michigan can get tornadoes, although not like other states in the Midwest. Because Michigan is not in Tornado Alley at all. Where other states like Iowa, Minnesota, or even like to some degree Wisconsin, Illinois, and Indiana, and then of course a bunch of the Great Plains, that's basically Tornado Alley, where tornadoes can be pretty common. Michigan gets them too, but not as much as neighboring states. In fact, like really strong and intense tornadoes are hard to come by here too, but they can happen. Although there has not been a EF5 or F5 tornado though in the state of Michigan. I think since the infamous Beecher tornado, which basically hit the Beecher area of Flint, which is north of Flint. That was like back like 1953 or something like that, or somewhere around there. Which, in fact, that would have been even before my mother was born. actually have a traffic light out here for Burnside Road. So yeah, looks like we're in Deerfield Township right now. So anyway, so yeah, again, Michigan can still get tornadoes. Heck, just 2 or 3 years, 3 years, maybe 4 years ago, a tornado even touched down about 2 or 3 miles from where I live. And let's just say if the tornado would have touched down, I think a couple minutes earlier, it would have gone right over my house. Which is kind of unnerving to think about, but again, it does happen, but again, not as much as neighboring states. And we're actually gonna have to stop at a traffic light here. So this is M90 here, so if you make a right turn, that'll take you over to North Branch, and eventually takes you over to M53. Continues east toward North Branch, and then eventually to M53, and then it zigzags down a little bit, and then continues east toward Brown City, and eventually ends up over in Lexington, over at M25 along the shores of Lake Huron. So we have 10 miles to go till we get to Mayville, Michigan, which is the next town we'll be going through. And then, although we will be going through it in this video, if we go like 23 miles from here, we be getting to Caro. But yeah, it's like the good news though, it's like, yeah, for where I live, the house I live in, it has a basement, so it's like if a tornado was to ever hit my house or something, I can easily be in the basement and be in an interior room and be safe. So that is a good thing. It's like, yeah, when it comes to like natural disasters in Michigan, you don't get a ton. Which makes Michigan a very prime place to live in. Because really the only thing Michigan can get would be sometimes tornadoes, but again, as I keep saying, not as bad as neighboring states. I'd say the biggest things would be either winter storms, where you can get like really bad snowstorms. Even so, the ones that can cripple an entire city, those are even kind of uncommon to come by too. Because I think in Detroit, there has not been one snowstorm in Detroit this past winter, which has gone over 7 to 8 inches. So usually within a day, everything's back to normal. Get 7 to 8 inches down in Alabama, it's basically the apocalypse, because everything shuts down for like 2 or 3 days because they can't really treat the roads down there like they can up here. And then another thing that can happen too are floods, because it can flood in Michigan if you've had enough rain, especially like if you live along the rivers, whether it's due to like melting ice during like the late winter, early spring, during like when everything thaws out, and then let's say you have additional rain or something, you can see stuff like that too. Or if you have like really bad rain events to where you can see localized flooding. Just like I think just a few days ago, there were some flooded excessive rainfall. But still, it's not really as bad as areas, let's say, like along the Mississippi River or anything way down that way, where they tend to get a lot more rain. But in all honesty, that's really it. Although we can also see heat waves to the summer. But because of the Great Lakes, it cools things down a little bit, so it's usually not as extreme, usually, as it is in neighboring states. Because I've said this in some of my past driving videos, but the Great Lakes does moderate the weather here, to where we have avoided either deep freezes or extreme heat waves, where we still get them, but maybe not as extreme as, again, neighboring states. Oh yeah, back there, that's Millington Road. So you can technically take Millington Road going west, and that'll take you all the way to the city of Millington. And then go further west to eventually be a few miles south of Frankenmuth. And then when it comes to other natural disasters, they don't really happen in Michigan. Like, Michigan doesn't get hurricanes, although we can get remnants of hurricanes when they go enough inland and they come up this way. But we're way too far away from the ocean to have a hurricane be a hurricane. Usually it's a remnant of a hurricane or tropical storm. And then wildfires, while they can happen in Michigan, not like what you see out west. Because usually when things really dry out here, there tends to be rainfall at some point. And then let me think what other... Oh yeah, earthquakes are hard to come by too. Like, we don't get earthquakes here. Every once in a blue moon, there can be a minor earthquake due to some minor fault lines. But usually they're the type of earthquakes that which don't really cause damage. That's why you'll see if you Google earthquake Michigan meme, you'll see a picture of a backyard where there's a chair that's fallen over, and it's like, I survived the Michigan earthquake, and it's just a picture of a chair that has fallen over. That's generally it, I would say, when it comes to like natural disasters, which we tend to not really get them here in Michigan. But some things can happen though, so it's like, if you're trying to live in a state where you're trying to avoid tornadoes, Michigan's not a bad state, but if you want to live someplace where you almost don't ever see them, you pretty much have to be out in California or something. California, Washington, or Oregon. Oh, and we have left Lapeer County and we're in Tuscola County. But of course, live in California, then you have to deal with earthquakes. Although maybe not so much if you live near Lake Tahoe or anywhere near the Sierra Nevada area, like the mountain range over there. Thinking where Yosemite and Sequoia National Parks are located. Oh yeah, and then Michigan, there are no volcanoes here, so you don't ever have to worry about a volcanic eruption in Michigan. So we are now coming into Mayville. Which is just a small town that's in between Lapeer and Caro. And yeah, one thing I forgot to point out is that I have never been on this part of M24 before. I've been on the northern part going up from like Unionville, but I've always gone onto a different road. So I've never come down this way or come up this way. So if you make a left turn here, that'll take you into downtown Mayville. So M24 bypasses downtown Mayville. Not really a whole lot to the area. It's got a small little market. You have Naaman's Market, or Family Market, I should say. There's a bowling alley, a gas station. But yeah, not really a whole lot to it. But yeah, it is amazing how quiet it is on M24 out here, especially compared to if you're driving on M24 back down in Oakland County. You're driving there between Auburn Hills and Lake Orion and Oxford. That area is busy, especially at rush hour. That can be very chaotic. Where up here, it's very nice and relaxing. So one thing I also forgot to point out too is that if we would have made that left turn to go into downtown Mayville, if we were to stay on that road, that'll eventually will take you over to the city of Vassar, which is back over at M15. I remember going to Vassar before. It's a nice little small city, which is basically halfway between here and Mayville, halfway to like between here and Frankenmuth. We don't really have too much further to go in this video, because M-46 is not that much further to the north. The sun might be trying to make an appearance, but not quite just yet though. Oh well. But yeah, the storm system, which has been going through the country right now, it's plaguing areas more to the south. So it's like it's been getting better as you go further north. So again, although I won't be able to film it today, but if I were to go even further north, beyond where I'm planning to conclude things. Oh, kind of think of it, looking at the map, I still got several more miles to go. So M-46 is not as close as I thought. But it is nice that we got a lot of trees up in this area. It's not just farmland, but lots of trees. But again, I'm not filming it today, but the northernmost stretch of M24, especially when you go north of Caro, it opens up to like farmland. It's very open, not really a lot of trees. But again, at some point I'll film that. I almost could if I wanted to, but I'll have to do it another day just because my GoPro battery is starting to get down there a little bit in battery power. So I filmed another driving video earlier today. And I'm only down to 1 one battery left, just because this GoPro is very old. I've had this for 8 years. And each of all my different GoPro batteries have all depleted to where I can't use them anymore, and I'm only down to one battery left. But I am looking to get a new action camera in the very near future. I keep saying that, but I need to make it happen now. So that way I can have additional batteries and I can film a lot more videos. But getting up this far is not really too bad though, so I can easily film the northernmost stretch of M-24 on another day. So yeah, coming up later today, basically after this video, I'm going to be slowly starting to make my way back to Metro Detroit. Planning to see my aunt and uncle later today. And then tomorrow I might try to film another driving video. And then 2 weekends from now is gonna be Easter weekend. I have a 4-day holiday weekend, and I'm planning to do a trip to Arizona, which I'm looking forward to doing that. And here is M-46 up ahead. So we have driven north on M-24 from I-69 south of Lapeer, Michigan, all the way to M-46, but here between Mayville and Caro. So I hope you enjoyed this video today. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to click that like button. Don't forget to click that subscribe button so that we don't miss out any future adventures. Well, thank you for watching, and this is Scott, or the Scott Man, signing out.